does it seem that love is not enough to save a marriage? Why is it that a marriage that started so well, so beautifully, the people seem not to be able to do without each other? They go to elaborate lengths to declare their love for one another. Why is that? Why is it that that love is not enough to keep them together? Is it that the love is not good? Is it that the love was fake? What's the problem there? I believe personally that love is the missing ingredient in the world today, and without love, you can really do very little. Everything that is good revolves around love. And when love is taken out, good things get spoiled, good things get destroyed. And this is what happens in many marriages. It start out with some kind of love, and it's corrupted because they don't see the things that are there. And once you working, start working with those blind spots, love gets corrupted and gets broken, and the good things that could have happened don't happen. So let's start with the first one. First one is what I call hidden expectations. Hidden expectations. And these expectations are many times unrealistic expectations. Many people, when you get married, and when I got married also, I was just, it was because I enjoyed hanging out with my wife. I could see us living together and having such joyful, loving exchanges, communications for the rest of our lives because we could spend hours and hours talking together on the phone. We could go on long walks and never get tired. I was always excited to be around her. She was excited to be around me, send me messages and notes, and it felt good. Many marriages start off that way. If you've ever seen my marriage pyramid, you will see that I always say that most people start at the top of the pyramid where there's hardly any dispute, hardly any conflict, and they slide down the pyramid slowly but surely. And the same happened to us. So that joy and that excitement eventually disappeared. And God helped us. We were able to turn it around. That's why I share this with you, and I share with everyone that I find to share it with. You will lose out on a lot of things if you assume that because the joy and the peace, the excitement that you had in your marriage has disappeared, and in place of it, you're finding dispute and you're finding hurtful words, and so you assume that the marriage won't work. I made a mistake. It was the wrong person. No, you may not have made any mistakes. It may not be the wrong person, and the love doesn't have to have been fake or unreal. It's just that you didn't know that you had unrealistic expectations and unspoken expectations in you that has come out to destroy your marriage. Not just you, your spouse too. Let's start with unrealistic expectations or unspoken or hidden expectations. One of them is that my spouse will make me happy like this forever. And it sounds normal, right? I meet this person, they make my life so much better. They are so kind. They take time and they make me feel good, they make me better. Right? So it's going to continue to be like that. There is absolutely no reason why it shouldn't continue. It's unrealistic and it's an expectation because it doesn't it's not right to expect that this joy that you have is because of the person and they can continue to sustain that. Although it is natural, although it makes a lot of sense to us and to the person who is enjoying the feeling, it's unrealistic in the sense that you were already a good person, you were already having a joyful life before you met them. They were supposed to just add to it. Somehow we say, wow, this is the person I've been waiting for all my life, and we withdraw our own portion where we were building and our lives and enjoying our lives before we met them. We withdraw from that and we just release the entire joy on them. This is the unrealistic part. It is realistic to expect that because you're now in partnership with another person, We're going to bring a dynamic that is different, and it can be exciting into your marriage, into your life. That's realistic. But what we do usually is that the moment we connect with them, we then withdraw some of the things that we were doing and then assume that they are going to move in certain ways that we think is natural. They resist that. They don't do that, and we build resentment. Once there's resentment, it begins to wear down on our love and our joy, and it wears down on the marriage, and eventually it leads to bigger problems. I'll give you an example from my own marriage. So when we got married, I was in Canada and I went to Nigeria to get married. Then I came back and waited for her to come join me. When she joined me, my expectation was that it's going to be as exciting as it was when we were dating. Well, I had left her in Nigeria for almost 4 years or more than 4 years at that time. And I just felt that, oh, it's going to be fun. I'm going to make everything easy for her. And I'm going to try to make sure that she doesn't make the mistakes that I've made as I've been trying to struggle and survive. I'm going to tell her exactly what she should do. And it sounds good to me, sounds reasonable to me. But when she is on the receiving end of that, what she felt was that you're not smart enough, you're not able to make decisions for yourself. All the things that I've learned here is because I'm smarter than you. That's not what I was saying. Yes, but those are the things that make marriages struggle. I didn't know that. I was in my blind spot completely. I was just trying to do my best, but it wasn't coming out right. And the reason why it wasn't coming out right because I have these expectations that she's just going to yield and she's going to understand and she's going to try to do things the way I do them. The thing that I didn't say when I was talking is that all my suggestions were coming from my own way of doing stuff, not her way of doing stuff. You cannot know how your spouse will respond unless you try something. And where that's where we miss it. So we assume that those things that we are suggesting are common sense, they are natural, and their reactions are abnormal. It's a blind spot. If you allow that to persist, your marriage will struggle, regardless of how good you guys are together, regardless of how compatible you were at the beginning, regardless of how joyful things were. So take note of this. If you have been struggling, maybe you have been married for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you are seeing this conflict increasing and growing, that's the same thing that's happening again. No, you can be together, manage to enjoy each other, and then there's a shift, right? Either I've seen this happen. Maybe the wife loses her job and she's now in a different space. She's going to have some new expectations. You're going to have some expectations based on that shift. If you don't know this, what I'm sharing with you, that they're always on hidden expectations that we can detect on our own. The only way we detect them is when we act on them. Our spouse reacts, and when they react, instead of us to say, "What's wrong with you? You're crazy. You're strange. You're weird," we need to say, why are they reacting? Learn the language and speak to them. Why marriages struggle and love seems not to be enough. Come on, is fears that you carry based on trauma that you've experienced before in relationships and in life. Yes, years that you carry, and these things are hidden to you. They're in your blind spot. You don't know that they're there. And these are things like how you grew up, the experience you had with your parents, experience you had with the previous partner, the experience you had with your relatives, your uncles, your cousins, even in business. If you've been betrayed in any way, and you cannot be living on this planet and not be betrayed or made fun of or experience a negative feeling due to your relationship, all of these things add up. And if we don't know how to release them, or we don't know that we have not released them properly, they come into the marriage and poison the love that we have for one another. So it is important that you notice that. I'll give you some examples. My parents, they love each other, and by the time I was 11 years old, my mom got shot. And so I grew up most of my life without my mom there. I was 11 years old when my mom died. And so that has a way of affecting the way I see things and I do things and the fears that I have. Sometimes that I won't know that. But for my own, in my own case, my idea was that I want a marriage that is beautiful and loving. And the fear there is that if I don't do what I need to do, it's not going to happen. Because after my mom died and my dad wanted to get into a relationship, he got into a few relationships that were really bad, really scary. And so those sent some things into my system that you need to work hard, you need to do stuff, and sometimes these things can be really painful. And so I was wanting to work extra hard to get certain things done. And although this is subtle, there are other people who go through more traumatic experiences that affects their marriage. And so for me, I will always want to protect my wife because my mom died. So there's this extreme desire to protect that is a bit higher. Well, I say a bit, maybe for her it was extreme, higher than others. And also the fact that when you have something good, you should protect it because when you lose it, you may not be able to get it back. So those are some of the fears that may have been motivating me, but I won't know that they are fears until I take action. So, for example, trying to protect her, trying to make sure she doesn't make all those mistakes. They're not just from my desire to help her alone. Some of it are from the fears that I have, and so every one of us have those fears, different types of fears, and they're there. How do you know they're there? When your spouse responds. So these responses, these disputes, these negative experiences, they are not bad in themselves. If each person is able to take them and say, you know what, I didn't marry a crazy person. If they say they are something's rubbing them the wrong way, there's a reason. Maybe their trauma, yes, but if it's their trauma, then I still need to adjust to it. All right. So when my wife started responding like that, it drove me to study to find out more why, how to communicate with her and help her. So that's point number two. There are fears in you. There are hopes and things that you don't want to happen in your life and in your marriage, but you would take extra. You would do things in a weird way, in a way that can rob you of your love and your peace and the joy that you want to have in your marriage that you will not be aware of. The only person that can show it to you is your spouse. And the way you know is the way they react to your actions. Check every time there's a dispute, check are there things that may be extreme that I'm doing because of the fears that I have, not necessarily because of what I think is the real reason, right? That's why when I'm doing my coaching, I always start with what is it that you are holding on to that's making you not to be joyful right now? And then the next thing is what are some of the hurts that are in your life that we need to release? And they don't have to be traumas of things that someone has done to your husband or your wife has done to you. In fact, most times it's because of the things that parents, uncles, siblings, previous married spouses have done. Sometimes religious leaders, and sometimes even God. So all of this we need to deal with because they are hidden. They don't show up unless you have a coach who's able to prod and push. So I do that as a coach now. I help people to discover all these hidden things just by tools that I've prepared and questions that I have that I ask. And of course, more importantly, the responses from the spouses. When I'm coaching someone, I always tell them, what did your spouse say? What did you do? How did they react? Because when I hear their reaction, I'm able to now tell the person I'm coaching that, look, don't ignore those responses. They may be extreme and weird and wrong, but don't ignore them. There's always goal to draw out of them. So the third thing, and it applies to all marriages, right? What I just said. The third thing I want to share with you that can destroy your marriage regardless of how much you love each other is the ignoring the two things that I just talked about, that they're also in your spouse. So not only are you having these hidden ideas, your spouse also has exactly the same thing. Hidden expectations, hidden fears, they are there, right? And they are acting assuming that you are crazy. You have the problem. Because to them it's so clear that they are all right. And you are reacting in a very weird way. How can you react when they are doing something so good? Exactly how they're seeing you. So what does that teach you? It teaches you that when your spouse is acting in ways that seem to hurt you, it is because they have this picture of you that is incorrect. You have to correct it. You have to correct it. And how do you correct it? By what I know that God has designed as unconditional love. In other words, even when I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to be kind and nice to you. Even when I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to speak what I see. I'm going to explain your hurt, the way you're hurting me, in terms of how I feel hurt, and I'm going to still be civil and respectful to you as I let you know. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to pretend as if you didn't do anything. I'm going to say what you're doing, but I'm going to say it in a way that when you hear it, you still feel that I love you. This is so important if you want to have a marriage that works, because these three things have destroyed many good marriages. I always like to remind you that I did a research recently, and I stumbled on a website that made it clear that 2,000 people, approximately about 2,000 people, get divorced every day in the United States of America alone. So you can imagine then that those 2,000 people were not foolish. These people really wanted to make it work, and they did their best to make it work. But because of these three blind spots, they are today trying to get divorced. I don't want you to be in that. And that's why I do what I do. And I've seen lives change, marriages that were supposed to be broken, not broken, repaired, and really thriving, because I'm able to help you see those blind spots. I'm able to help you overcome them, and I'm able to help you develop the skill that you need, because it's a skill to see the shortcomings of your spouse, see how they see you, and learn how to manage a relationship with them, even when they're hurting you right now. This is what I do, and this is what I want you to learn to do. And of course, I do all my videos to share that, to make that available to you. That's why I want you, if you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed to my channel, do so. I always come out every Monday with a new topic, and I do it live. If you have a question for me, I'll be happy to take your questions and answer them. If you don't, then you can leave them in the comment, and I will be happy to answer them. I desire to see your marriages better, stronger, more robust, and sweeter. That's my goal, and I do so with joy. Right? If you want help right away, you can look in the description to this video and reach out to one of our love coaches. Someone is going to be with you, give you 15 minutes free coaching. And if there's more that you need, we're willing to serve you with that. I want to see your marriage thrive. I want to see you thrive. And I pray that the presence of God, the mighty God, the Creator, would be with you, strengthen you, and enable you to become a person who is so attractive to your spouse, and who is a source of joy and encouragement to your marriage and to your children. I pray this in the name of Jesus. The Lord bless you and keep you. And until next time,